All right, we now welcome on another special guest to our show. He's a homegrown Colorado Rapids player, US U20 player. He's been having a great season for Colorado so far. Welcome on, Cole Bassett.
Yeah, thanks for having me, guys.
Yeah. All right. So now that the season's back on, kind of back into a more regular routine, let's go back to March when quarantine first started. What was life like for you when that happened? Like the season ended, and then what were you doing to fill up your time?
Yeah, I mean it was tough for everybody, but luckily I still live with my parents, so um, I just got to spend most of the time with the family, which you never know how much longer you get to spend with them, especially since I have goals of going to Europe and stuff like that. So you'd be far away from home, so it was good to just spend time with family. If anything, that just brought me close to them. So I basically just went to the high school every day and trained when we didn't get kicked off the field, but it was just me and my brother. And then besides that, yeah, we just stayed at home.
Yeah, I had a similar thing, because I was at home, and my brother, who's in here, Will,
Mhm.
and our other brother, me and Will are both in college. So it was like the first time in a while we were all home same
Yeah,
time. We go to the high school and play because we still all play soccer.
yeah,
We get kicked off like almost every single time. It was
yeah.
a
I
disaster.
don't know what was up with them, but yeah, it was like every day they'd come out, so you'd have to find the time.
Yeah, it's either you go like really early in the morning or like really late.
Yeah, exactly.
No, quarantine definitely. I feel like for everyone it was like a good thing or a bad thing because like some people were like, oh man, being home with my family all the time, I loved it. And then some are like, oh dude, they're so annoying. Like I don't know why like quarantine was so long and stuff like that. Would you say
Yeah,
you had more like a better time like being with your family or like were you
yeah.
more annoyed like most of the time?
No, I enjoy being with my family because like I mean I have a younger sister who's just going into high school and I don't know, just like most like training days, I don't really see her because I get home around like 3:30 and then she goes off to do her practice and stuff like that, and then she does homework after. So like I don't really see her too much. So like quarantine kind of brought me closer to her. And then my brother and me have always been close, but we just got to train more than we do normally. So it was good. I enjoyed it. I mean, I didn't really notice that there was much of a lockdown, to be honest, because I didn't, at least in my community, we didn't have too many COVID cases for a while. So it was pretty nice to be at home.
Yeah. So you're from Littleton, like
Hmm.
outside Denver. Are you a big skier at all?
Yeah, it used to be, but there's something in our contract that says we're not allowed to like ski or like motorcycle ride, stuff like that. So I used to be a big time skier, but I can't do it anymore.
Where are some of your favorite places to go in Colorado? Or
We used to have like a timeshare like with three families up in Breckenridge. I don't know if you guys know where that is, but
yeah.
we used to go up there all the time, and my dad loves it up there, so we'd go up there like every weekend.
Yeah, I've been meaning to go to Colorado because we have friends that live in, I think like Highlands Ranch or something like that.
Yeah, yeah, it's like 10 minutes from me.
Yeah, and they always are like, oh, come out whenever, and we can go to like
Yeah,
skiing. It's like best. It's so good, but I just
yeah.
haven't time.
Where are all you guys from?
I'm originally. We're both from. Well, I'm from Pennsylvania. Um,
Okay,
Curtis, you.
Oh yeah, I'm from Liberia originally, and then I lived in Jersey, and then now I'm in Pennsylvania.
Yeah,
okay,
we went to high school together. That's how we met. Yeah.
okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
my
because
family's from the Bay Area as well,
Huh?
Curtis.
oh the Bay Area.
Yeah, my dad went to Berkeley, so I saw
Oh
your
no way!
shirt
I
that
swear
you
I
went.
go.
Oh, I
Oh,
should
you
check it
do?
out.
Really?
Yeah, that's right. I'm out here.
Yeah.
I'm in Berkeley right now. That's
No,
so.
this is
Okay.
actually his shirt. I stole his shirt like last summer.
Yeah.
I just flex it every now and then when I'm going out. They're like,
Yeah.
"You go to Berkeley?" I'm like, "Yeah."
Dude, I hooked him up with so
Yeah.
much gear because I work for the football team
Yeah.
part time, and I just get like access to all the gear, and they just
No, that's sweet.
hooked him up.
All right,
Yeah.
Chuck.
No, I like that stuff.
All right. Besides from soccer, like, are there any other things you'd say that defines you?
Ooh, like just hobbies and stuff like that, or
Yeah,
just
like anything.
um, I mean, like in quarantine, I kind of picked up golf. I never really played, but a lot of my teammates, like we kind of have like a group. So there's a guy on our team, Keegan Rosenberry. He's from Pennsylvania, actually. He's like a big time golfer, and he's pretty good at it. So he kind of took a lot of the younger guys out, and we've been playing a lot, to be fair. So I kind of took that up. Besides that, not really. I'm kind of like a guy that likes to just chill at home and stay low key, to be honest. I'm not really of a guy that goes out too much. So I'd just say golf.
Do you like play video games at all?
Yeah. Okay. I'm waiting for this new FIFA 21 drop. I can't wait for it.
You don't wait.
But
I
I
know some
was
people are playing it now.
yeah, there's some people that have early access, but I didn't get that. But like one of my friends was showing me like all the ratings on our team, and it looks like they messed up some of ours. I dropped from last year. At least it
What?
looked like by one rating. At least they do winner upgrades, but I was a 62 last year, and my friend was showing me I was a 61. So
Oh, dude.
that's
Yeah,
what it is.
I feel like FIFA ratings definitely screwed a lot, like mostly everyone over this FIFA 21.
Yeah, I
Especially
know.
Fabinho. They didn't give him any pace.
Yeah.
Oh man. So when you play FIFA, do you usually do you ever play as Rapids and play as yourself?
I do sometimes like kind of just to mess around with my like friends. I'll try to be myself and just score goals against them, but like I don't ever like create like or like buy any of our players in Ultimate Team or create like career modes with our team. I kind of just leave those guys alone and make it of like European teams. But yeah, I'll play with it sometimes. Just depends on who I'm playing against.
Yeah.
No, I play FIFA every now and then. I'm pretty good. I would say I'm probably one of the best in the world.
No,
Maybe we need to get a
curious.
match. Hey, what do
No,
you got? Xbox or
yeah,
PS4?
I got Xbox
We might have to get a game in then
because I'm serious.
once it
Like
comes out.
everyone talks trash. I'm like, dude, I'm like I talk a lot, but I'm really good. Like really, really good.
Hey, maybe when it comes out, I think what is it? October 9th?
I think next week
Yeah.
sometime.
Yeah. All right. If you get it, hit me up. We'll play a game.
All right. All right. Who would you say is like your biggest like inspiration? Like who do you model your game after?
Yeah. I'd say growing up it was Frank Lampard. When I was watching him as a younger kid, just the way he scored goals out of midfield. Uh, he's a little bit more of an eight, um, but I still love the way he played. And then nowadays it's Kevin De Bruyne. He's just kind of the two-way midfielder that I try to be like. I mean, obviously he's the best in the world, I think, right now as a center mid, but I try to model my game after him.
Nice.
Yeah.
Two very solid players.
Yeah, I know. They're just like all around.
Yeah.
They kind of have everything. That's kind of the player that I want to be. Just have everything very good.
Yeah. So we've had two of your teammates on, Kellen Acosta and then Jonathan Lewis. And I don't know if you listened to the episode with it was Jonathan. He was we were talking to him about because he scored against San Jose and then he did a knee slide and failed. And he's like, oh, I have a reputation for failed knee slides and failed celebrations. And he was saying he always makes fun of you for had a failed knee slide or something. But who do you think who has it worse, like you or him?
I mean, mine was pretty bad, but I'd say his was worse because the field was actually nice that he was doing it on. Because I did it after the Galaxy game, and that field was actually it looked like the Chargers just played there or something. Like it actually wasn't that good, so I don't know why I did it. I just I saw a little wet patch, so I went for it. But our field was nice, so I don't know why his technique must have been off or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I'll say his is worse because he's had multiple. I think he's had 2 or 3 of those.
Yeah, that's what he said.
Yeah, he's definitely had 2 or 3, but he was saying there was a technique. I'm pretty sure there is a technique. And I remember he was saying the grass or the pitch has to be perfectly wet, or else you just destroy it. You just blow your knee out or destroy your kneecap or whatever.
You do, to be honest. It just literally digs right in. So you gotta have it if there's any spot that's not wet on the field, you're screwed, which is what happened to me. I just flipped over. But his spot was wet, so that's why I don't know why his didn't work.
Yeah. So are you guys who would you say like on the team you're kind of the tightest with? Is it either Kellen or Jonathan or somebody else?
Yeah, those are probably two of my closer friends, to be honest. I'd say Sammy Vines as well. He's probably the guy I'm closest to on the team, just because age-wise we're the closest right now in the locker room. Because the rest of the young guys, there's like Seb Anderson, Will Vint, and Abe Rodriguez. They're all with the Switchbacks. They got loaned out there, so those guys are all my age, but I don't really have anybody like actually in the locker room with me that's the same age. So Sammy's the closest, and then I just got close with him. But besides that, it's Johnny and Kel, maybe Andre Shinishiki as well. But we have a pretty tight locker room, so it's you kind of get to know everybody, and like even guys like Kai Kamara, he left now, but like I was really close with him as well, and he was like 34, 35, so didn't really matter their age, to be honest.
Yeah.
So
You can go.
you guys have any like I guess like inside joke slang that you always use or some like sayings?
I mean, we have some like there's some that probably just can't be said on the podcast because I mean we're all just like a bunch of guys that like didn't go to college or anything, and we're from all over the world, so we're kind of we act like probably like kids sometimes in the locker room. So I don't know. Some of the stuff I can't say, and there's a lot of stuff that's like in Spanish that we use because we have a couple Spanish speakers on our team. We call everybody cabeza because there's the new guy Brian Galvan
Yeah.
from Argentina, and him and Nico Mosquita. They call everybody that. So maybe that's like one of the terms that we use for everybody. But we kind of just like use terms that the Spanish guys use when they try to speak English, but it doesn't sound right. So we'll just kind of use those things and say that. But besides that, there's some other stuff. But
No, it's
probably
it's all
yeah,
good.
it's not PG.
Who would you say gets roasted like the most in the locker room?
I've got to be up there. Me, Johnny does a lot too. It's all the young guys. Me, Johnny, Andres does sometimes. Maybe for like we at least with COVID, it's not as many guys because we used to like you dress up every day to go in the stadium, and then like game day outfits. People would roast each other for what they wear and stuff like that. And I'd say that probably the biggest one is Nicky Jackson, but right now he's hurt, so he hasn't been in as much. But for some reason, everybody would just go after him on like what he wears, what he says, anything like that. And it's basically just because he always would talk back to him and call them out too. So he'd just get it back. But it's mostly like all the young guys, to be fair.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like that's kind of to be expected because you're just like trying to like prove yourself and work your way into the team and get accustomed to the way things go. So moving on, I was listening to I think it was a podcast or like interview with you, and you're saying that you have all of your dreams on a poster in your room.
Yeah.
Kind of how has this list changed over time? Like how often do you edit it and what's at the top of it, you know?
Yeah. I mean, from that interview, like that one that they showed, I think on there, it's been up in my room forever, to be honest. But that was like, I think that was the start of my U16, U17 year, when I moved over to Rapids Academy. But I normally make one every year just because one of my coaches always said it's best to like write your goals down and stuff like that. You visualize it better and go after it. So for me, the top ones, obviously short term, it's to be a regular starter at Colorado and continue to develop, continue to get goals and assists, and be a game changer for us. But then long term, be in the U.S. men's national team and play in Europe in one of the top 5 leagues, probably for a consistent amount of years. Because I think if you're doing it on a consistent basis, then that really shows how good of a pro you are. So I don't want to just go over there and apply my trade for like 2 years. I want to stay over there and be consistent for a long time. So those are kind of my goals, is to be there and then with the national team as well.
Would you say like like the list? Would you say like the list changes often, or do you just do it before like the start of the season? You just keep the same list throughout?
No, I do change it often. I mean, there's certain times in the season where like just certain goals aren't as achievable as others, and there's certain stuff where you want to get um, like goals in certain games or be able to start like a run of games in a row. But then there's points in the season like where you might need to rest, so you can't be starting every single game in a row. So I do change it, but for the most part, there's like a consistent amount of goals that stay the same for me, and those are kind of targets that I try to reach. So like for this year, I tried to set my target at 6 goals and 6 assists, just like stats wise, and then try to make the U20 World Cup roster at least. Maybe try to get in the U23s or senior team as well if those opportunities arise, and then just be a regular starter for Colorado. So it's stuff like that that I try to reach for and continue to try to work on in training every day.
Yeah, for you, I feel like those are. I mean, like the 6 goals, 6 assists. That's definitely doable. Right now, you're at what? Chuck, how many goals is he at
Four and
now?
four.
4 and 4. Yeah, so that's like you're almost there. You almost check that one off.
Yeah, I mean, obviously you have to do it every single game. Like I was kind of mad that we had these COVID cases just because you want to keep a run of form and keep going, but we still have 10 games left, and for us, we're right in the mix of playoffs right now, so we need results every single game, and goals and assists are what's going to win us games. So I just got to try to keep doing it.
Yeah. So I mean, like we just said, you've had a great season so far. You've been scoring, getting assists, and like being a difference maker. And a lot of people have like started calling you one of the top prospects that the MLS has to offer, like for teams in Europe. So how do you manage the high expectations around you and just to continuously perform at a high level?
I try not to look at most of the stuff on social media, like with Twitter and stuff like that. Just with people like tagging you and certain stuff and trying to hype you up, because everybody's gonna have highs and lows in their career, and you can't ever really get too high and too low. And um, like I just try to stay in the middle basically the whole time and be consistent, because the guys that they remember at the end of the day are consistently good. And like the players I mentioned earlier, Frank Lampard and Kevin De Bruyne, those guys consistently every single game have a goal or assist, or basically are impacting the match in a positive way to help the team win. So I just try to focus on myself and keep a small but close friend group with my family, and they kind of keep me level headed, because I think my family is a pretty humble family, and I feel like they put a good head on my shoulders. So um, I just try to listen to them and basically just try to be the hardest worker in training every day and do it every game.
Yeah, no, yeah. I feel like being humble. Like most of the guys now, like the younger guys, they sometimes like let all like that social media talk and like play into like their lives, and like they get like a bigger head, sort of.
Yeah, yeah. I don't like for me, I always try to just stay how I was in the academy, basically. And just be the same person I was, because really I haven't changed. I mean, you're just a soccer player at the end of the day, so you're no different than anybody else. So I just try to stay the same person that I was off the field, and then on the field, I just try to continue to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, we since me and Chuck have been Rapid, I would say some crazy Rapid fans now. We were with you guys when you guys were. I mean, you guys started up pretty high, like in the beginning of the season. You guys are doing well, and then you guys went down a little bit. But I see now you.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously now you guys are making your way up to the top. Do you guys like have think you have a legit chance of winning like the MLS Cup?
Yeah, I mean, obviously that was one of our goals at the start of the season. The crazy thing about MLS is like every year, basically, I mean, most teams do have that goal. It's not like the Premier League where you could be a team like maybe say Southampton or something, where you probably know you're not going to win the Premier League. You're probably shooting for maybe Europa League or something like that, or just teams in the Premier League. You kind of know your place basically, and you have certain goals. But in the MLS, basically anybody can win it every single year. So I mean, that was our goal at the start of the year, and obviously we haven't made the playoffs in a couple of years, but I think that's our first goal. We're kind of looking towards that, and then we'll take it game by game. But I believe we have 10 games left in the season right now, and we just want to be a team that's in the playoffs, and then from there, if we do make that, then we'll try to look towards MLS Cup game by game.
What would you say some of like the remaining team goals are for the season, except for making like the playoff for the MLS Cup?
Yeah, I think for us, especially at home, we have the altitude at our side, and it's not an easy place to come to Colorado and play sometimes. So I think we have 4 home games left now because one of them got moved away to Kansas City. But I think we need to basically win all 4 of those, or definitely stay undefeated at home for those. We definitely need a good home record, and that's what gets you into the playoffs. And then some of those road games, I think we need to win at least half or something like that to get in those. We obviously have a tough schedule with going away to places like Seattle and Minnesota and Kansas City twice, but I think this young group's definitely up for the task just because we like the challenge. We like playing against the best players.
Yeah, that's awesome to hear because I feel like right now, like, there's like the sky's the limit. You guys been playing really well and have been have some good numbers.
Yeah.
But so you played with like a lot of good players, but I think one of like the big names is probably Tim Howard.
Yeah.
So what's a piece of advice that he's given you that's just really stuck with you like over the years?
Yeah, he always Tim was one of the hardest workers personally that I've seen. When he got to us, he was obviously a bit older, so he couldn't like train hard every single day, but he was always doing stuff in the gym and stuff like that. And for me, there was like the biggest thing was the mentality piece that he took. He always like had a self-belief in himself that he could basically do whatever he wanted. If he wanted to play for Real Madrid, I think he had the self-belief that he could go there and play there. And I think that's why throughout his career he was so consistent and did so well. And in the World Cup, he showed up on a big time stage. So for me, it's just having that self-belief and the mentality that I can do anything that I believe in and continue to strive for those things. Because I think confidence and self-belief, if you have those 2 things, because they are different, but if you have those 2, you can make it far in the game.
This guy's
My mic is always muted. It just it mutes by itself. I don't know why it does that. What would you say? Actually, like I'm really wondering, like, what would you say the biggest change was from you being like the Rapids Academy to like being now like a big name on like the first team?
I mean, the speed's like obvious. I think that's what most people say, and the physicality as well. Oh, there you go. But for me, I think like one of my strengths is probably just like I try to be good on the ball and be one of those creative midfielders. So that wasn't as tough for me. It was more the physical side of the game because I obviously wasn't one of the biggest guys growing up. I've always been kind of skinny, to be honest. So it was kind of trying to learn how to use my body and being able to, because I like to dribble, so being able to manipulate defenders and use my body in a way that they can't get to the ball. Because when I first came into the MLS, I kind of had a bit of trouble with that, trying to basically hold people off the ball and stuff like that. So I think I've gotten better at it, but I still have a long way to go with that.
Yeah. So for this question, gonna limit it to players that are under 25. Who's the current player that you really want to play with? Just any, it could be anybody.
Under 25. I mean, I want to play with Pulisic, to be honest, just because he's doing so well at Chelsea, and hopefully one day, I need to try to reach the senior national team so that I can play with him as well. He's just a very good winger, and he'd be fun to combine with as well because he looks for that. So I'd probably say him. But if we're going players outside of the U.S., I'd go Mbappe just because as a midfielder, you kind of can just put it in behind, and he's probably off to the races. So I feel like he'd help me with my assists and stuff like that.
Dude, Mbappe is so fast.
Yeah, I know. It would just be fun to play it over the top, and he's in. So
yeah, every time too.
Like yeah.
Wow, that'll be fun to watch or see ever happen.
Yeah.
We saw like you have some experience playing in Germany. Like, what would you say your level of German is?
Terrible. The language is so hard. Like, I don't understand any of the words that go on over there. But I definitely want to play it. Like, I think the Bundesliga is a great league, and they develop a lot of young players. So I definitely think it would be a very good league to make a jump to and try to develop over there. and I think they have a lot of high level teams, so it doesn't matter where you go, whether it's first or second division, they still have a lot of good players.
Yeah. I don't think because I studied abroad in Germany in the spring.
Mhm.
And I think a lot of the words like if you as you get more comfortable with it, a lot of words are pretty similar, I'd say.
Are they?
Like yeah,
I hope
like,
so.
yeah,
I tried to do Duolingo, the
yeah.
Duolingo German. I've been taking German lessons, and I don't know. For me, it's so hard because I took Spanish,
Yeah, yeah.
like for 5 years, so like I got pretty good at that. But I don't know. German's just it's tough for me. But to be honest, I haven't really stuck with it like
Yeah.
that intensely. So I probably would get better at it if I like spoke it every day.
Yeah, no, for me was I took French for like 5 years in high school. And for me, like when I was over there learning German, it was like my brain would just default to French. Like when I was doing it,
Yeah.
it made it hard at first, but as soon as I got out of that, it was easy to pick it up.
Yeah. Where'd you go in Germany?
I was in Berlin. I was there, so
Okay.
there, like when I had to come back to the States, and unfortunately, like I was only there for like 7, I want to say, but
Okay.
well, I only really traveled around in Germany. Like I went down to Munich twice and I was able to go to 2 Bayern Munich games, which was really
Oh, that's sweet. Yeah.
yeah. I don't know, it was a lot of fun. German is great.
Yeah. No, I love it there.
Have you had any interest from any teams recently? Like has anybody shown interest in you?
I have had interest, yeah, over the past year or so. Obviously, I can't say some of the team names, but um, I really am just trying to focus on Colorado right now, and if I just continue doing what I'm doing, then hopefully teams will take notice over there, and hopefully I can make a jump to Europe because that's ultimately where I want to play. But right now, I'm just trying to. This season we have 10 games left with Colorado, so I got to try to focus on that and try to get us into the playoffs. But it definitely is a goal for me to go over there.
Mm-hmm.
If you could play at like any club, since we no German club, but a club in the Prem, what club would you say you would like if they were to call you up right now with like
Yeah.
$1 million a week or something ridiculous?
52 million a year.
Like something ridiculous like bail salary, like freaking
Yeah.
475 mil, or I mean 400, what it was like 475,000 a week. Call you right now. Where would you go?
I think I'd go to Arsenal, to be honest. That's always been my club, at least that I've supported since I was younger. And I got the opportunity to train with them last winter, which was insane. So I kind of know some of the people around there now, and I got to stay with the host family while I was there that I kind of became close to as well. So I'd probably say Arsenal just because I like London a lot as a city, and then obviously the club is great as well.
That's cool. That would be insane if
Yeah,
that pans out, you know.
yeah. Hopefully one day, but
Yeah.
yeah, well, we'll see.
Yeah. So, I was looking at it, and like Brendan Aronson has been getting a lot of hype this season, and I don't know if it's confirmed yet, but it's pretty heavily like implied that he's going to go to Salzburg. But honestly, like I'm pretty sure you have put up some better stats than him this year. So does like the fact that you're not really getting as much attention and coverage as him motivate you to play better and prove yourself to the league?
I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, I'm good friends with Brendan. We went to rookie symposium together, and then we went to the homegrown game together. So I love playing with him. We kind of play similarly. He's probably more a bit of a guy that's better in tight spaces and crafty on the dribble, but I think we play pretty similarly. So it's good to see him doing really well. And I don't know anything about the move, but hopefully it materializes for him. But I personally, like, I don't mind either. I mean, I like flying under the radar as a guy that kind of came from not much. I was always on teams that weren't really getting noticed when I was in the youth academy days. So, and I didn't really get noticed either until I was in the first team. Like, I didn't get called into a men's national team camp, like a U18, until after I scored a goal in MLS. So, to be honest, I don't mind flying under the radar and just continuing to do what I do. But I mean, if people want to give it hype, they can. But I just have to continue to do what I'm doing at my club and try to develop every single day in training, because that's ultimately gonna help me reach my goals.
Yeah, it's huge. I feel like focusing on yourself and not really what other people are doing is probably one of like the things that I know Jonathan Lewis was talking about it with
Mhm.
him with the experience with like the national team and like making like what was that 20 his debut 2019.
Yeah,
So like that's pretty good. Just focus on yourself and just focus on whatever you're doing. A little bit back
yeah.
to Arsenal. Like when you were there, like did you play with any of the first team players?
Yeah, I was with the 23s for most of the time, but I did get to hop in a couple sessions with the first team, and it was pretty crazy just because you watch those guys like on the TV every week. And like we had one of the days, it was on the international break, so not all the best players were there, but we had like a scrimmage basically because they had the day off the next day. So my team, it was like 9v9, and I had Ozil, Lacazette, David Luiz, Bellerin, Tierney. It was crazy. Like, and now I'm like watching. I was just watching them on versus Liverpool on the TV this past weekend, and then like a couple hours ago. So it's pretty crazy to see that you've played with these players in training and stuff like that. But hopefully that's one of my goals is to play in the Prem one day. And Arsenal would obviously be a great club to do it, but hopefully I can play with some of those guys one
The Gunners. Are you?
day.
I'm guessing you're an Arsenal fan
Yeah,
and the biggest Arsenal fan. Do
yeah.
you
Got
still
still got a poster in my room from
do
when
you
I was
stay
younger.
do you still like stay in contact with any of the players that you played with back with Arsenal? Or
I
you
stay in contact with some of the U23s because I was in their locker room. So I follow some of them on Instagram and stuff like that. With the first team, like I talked to some of the guys like during training and stuff like that, but like I haven't really stayed in touch with them because I don't know. I don't think Lacazette wants my Instagram right now yet. So um,
not
I
yet, but
haven't
he
stayed in
will.
contact with those guys, but I try to stay in contact with some of the U23 players and stuff like that. And then the obviously the coaching staff I would stay in contact with, but they've changed coaching staffs like 3 times since then. So I haven't worked with Mikel Arteta and stuff like that.
So you played obviously MLS in England and then in Germany. Which
Mhm.
which play style do you think suits your game the best, would you say? If that even like
That's tough.
applies.
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah, no, it does. Because I mean, I talk about that all the time with my teammates, just because there's certain places like you just can't go because the play style wouldn't suit you and stuff like that. Uh, I mean, I love watching the Premier League, how fast it is, and like I consider myself a runner, and I feel like I cover a lot of ground in games, and I've been trying to do a lot more high intensity stuff because that's kind of how the Premier League is. So, um, I would say the Premier League just because that's where I want to play, and it's high intensity, and that's kind of how I like playing. But I also think the German league as well suits me right now. They have a lot of technical players, but a lot of hard workers, and it's very tactical. So I think that would be a good league for me to learn the game a lot because those coaches over there really focus on your positioning and your movements and stuff like that. So I think that would be a great league as well.
Yeah, definitely. So moving on now to your national team experience. So we had Johan Gomez on last week.
Yeah.
As I saw you're on his podcast. So are you with him?
Yeah, we're close friends. We have the same agent, so that's how we got close because we were gonna, or I was committed to Denver University to play soccer, and then he was gonna commit there as well. Like he came out on a visit, so since I
Mhm.
lived close, I kind of just went and visited him, and that's kind of how we started a friendship, I guess. And then we played together on the national team, and we went to a camp in Slovenia together. So I think since then we've kind of became closer, and we've stayed in touch since then. So yeah, we're pretty good friends now.
Would you say you've been trying to convince him to pick the U.S. over Mexico? Because when
I
we had
hope
him
he does.
on,
Yeah,
yeah, when we had him on, he was like, "Yeah, like I'm not saying like I'm gonna pick U.S. or Mexico at the moment, but like
yeah.
he was like kind of, I don't know. It sounded to me like he was hinting something, and I feel like I don't know. I just feel like you or most of the like the U20 guys definitely had like influence on that.
I hope he wants to play for the US. I mean, I think he's done well with the guys, and I think we have a good group that like he knows most of the guys. There's like a FC Dallas core too, Like I think the last camp that we were at together, there was like 5 or 6 kids that at least had ties to FC Dallas or something like that, and they've all played together. So I feel like he's comfortable with the U.S. right now. But I mean, obviously, like everybody's got career decisions that they have to make, and if that is better for him in the future, it is. But I think right now he's definitely a U.S. player.
Yeah. So the U20 World Cup hopefully will be happening next year.
Yeah.
What are your expectations and goals for that?
I mean, we first off have to qualify, and hopefully that should be the early part of next year. So that's kind of what we're focusing on right now as a team. But obviously, we want to try to do just as good or better than all the teams in the past have done. I think the U.S. has reached the quarterfinals for like the past 3 age groups or something like that, but they haven't got past that. So I think for us, it's definitely trying to get to the semifinals and get past what the U.S. has done. But right now, we have to focus on qualifying for the group because CONCACAF is never an easy task, as most people have seen with the senior team as well. It's not easy playing some of these teams, so I think we're focusing on that first, and then by the World Cup, hopefully we have all of our players available and we can go there with a strong team.
Yeah. Yesterday or a few days ago, we were talking to Jalen Lindsay, and he was like, we asked him, like, what would you think the most realistic goal is for that World Cup? Like, what would you say like the most realistic goal is?
I mean, I think we have a very strong group. I think we have a good self belief in the group, and at least in the camp in January that we had, I think how close we were as a team could bring us far. I think a realistic expectation is to get as far as that team did last year, to get to the quarterfinals at least, and then maybe the semifinals or final as well. But I think the U.S. has enough talent now to where we can't really consider ourselves underdogs. I think it's got to be an expectation to try to get there and go beyond that as well. So I think we have the talent to do it, but we just have to put it together on the field.
Yeah, I definitely feel like the younger guys that are coming up now, like in the youth academy systems, like most of the guys that are, I mean, obviously like there's plenty of guys playing in Europe, and some of the guys in MLS, like you guys are doing like crazy well. Like I'm really excited to see like you guys all develop and make first team appearances, and
Yeah.
stuff like that. I remember we were talking to Johan. He said that he could see you being the captain for the U20 team. Like, do you think that's true, or is that like a goal of yours?
I mean, I would love to represent the U.S. as a captain for sure. It's kind of like this. I don't know. All my friends give me crap about it, like Johan and the guys that I'm closer to on the team. Just because I hadn't really been in too many camps. Like I think that was only my third camp in January, and that I got the captain's armband for the second half versus Mexico. So they were kind of all giving me crap about how fast I got it and stuff like that. And they like to say like Captain Cole and stuff like that. But I definitely think that would be like a goal of mine for sure. Because to represent the U.S. at a World Cup or a main stage as a captain would be amazing. That's kind of the stuff that you dream of as a kid. Obviously, you want to do it at the senior men's national team in a World Cup, but a youth World Cup is just as big right now for me. So I would definitely be happy to do that.
Have you like for the U20s? Do you guys have like a relationship with the senior team coach, like Berhalter, at all?
Yeah, we were lucky enough in January that Greg and Jason Christ as well, the U23 staff were there with the senior team down at IMG Academy, and we happened to be there as well. So we kind of got lucky that their camp got canceled in Qatar, so they ended up coming to Florida, and we actually got to play a scrimmage against them as well. So they were kind of evaluating us there, and then we had our 2 games versus Mexico that they came to as well. So we kind of got a lot of exposure to them. And then they've stayed in touch with a few of us as like our seasons have went on. So our U20 coach, I believe, has meetings with them all the time, and they talk about players. But I mean, I obviously don't know what exactly they do, but they do stay in contact with some of us and just try to help us with certain parts of our game and stuff like that, and continue to keep improving so that we can one day reach the senior team.
Have you talked to Greg at all, like recently?
Yeah, I did talk to him recently, not over the phone or anything. It was just a text, but yeah, I've had contact with him recently.
And he congratulating you on your phenomenal start of the season.
I mean, he just said keep up the work, but obviously you still have a long way to go, and just continue to do what you're doing, and hopefully like the senior team, like next year. I mean, most of the younger kids, we know that there's so many games with the senior team, the U23s and the U20s, so you never know where your opportunity is going to come. I mean, we could get bumped up to the 23s and go to the Olympics, like qualify for that and stuff like that, or you could be in the senior team. There's the Gold Cup, there's Nations League, there's the Hex starts next year, so there's so many opportunities for us as youth national team players. So I think all of us are just excited for what 2021 brings, and hopefully we can be a part of the U20s. But then obviously our goals are to get to the U23s and first team as well.
Yeah. Well, next summer you guys, like U.S. team in general, they have the U20 World Cup, go first team go Cup qualifying for is that qualifying for U23s?
Yeah, they have. Well, so the U23s and U20s, we have qualifying at the start of the year for the Olympics and the World Cup.
Mm-hmm.
And then in the summer, I think the U20 World Cup's first, then Nations League or Gold Cup, one of those.
Yeah,
and
I think
then
it's
the Olympics.
Okay, so that's about like 5 or 6 chances.
Yeah.
Out of those, like, what would you say? What would you put as like your number one like goal to like be in or be a part of the squad?
That's tough. I mean, you always want to be in the, like, to receive a senior men's national team call up is like what you dream of as a kid. So obviously, any of those I'd love to be in. I mean, the U23s with that, like going to the Olympics, not many people get to go to the Olympics. So obviously, we have to qualify for that first. But to be in that conversation and maybe have a chance to go to that would be amazing as well. And then with the U20s too, like it's a World Cup, and not many people get to play in a World Cup either. So I'm happy with any of them. And obviously, I just have to keep working to try to get into as many of the squads as possible.
Yeah.
Nice. All right, I think we're gonna wrap it up now. Got one more question.
Okay.
Chris, you have anything?
Yeah,
All right.
I think it's just you.
So if you could go back in time, you right now to when you were like 13, 14, like a youth player, what's a piece of advice you would give to yourself?
I still wish most most of my friends and most of the kids at like my high school called me like kind of crazy just for how much I trained, but to be honest, I wish I did it earlier. Like I wish I kind of had the mentality that I have now when I was about like 10 or something like that, because I don't think I really developed it until I was about 13 or 14. And that's just stay humble and try to outwork everybody else. And it wasn't until I didn't make a team when I didn't make the U14 academy team or something like that. So I would kind of wish before that I started, because sometimes I wonder like would I be an insane dribbler or something like that if I was dribbling from the age of 10 or something like that. But yeah, I mean, you can't change that now. So now I just gotta try to do extra for what I didn't put in when I was super young. But I still think it's just try to outwork everybody would be my piece of advice.
Yeah, that's definitely very good advice. I feel like applies to anybody too in any situation. But yeah. Well, thanks for coming on today. Thanks for taking the time today, and we appreciate it. And you're welcome back anytime.
Yeah, I'd love if you guys ever have anything you need. Happy to be back on the podcast. I enjoyed it, to be honest. It's a good little group you guys got here.
Thank you. We have fun. We have fun.
Yeah, we have one more guy, Jasper, but it's all right.
Okay. Yeah.